Okay, so I was a cringe kid, which is probably like the most like seen thing if you know me at all. But growing up, for the most part, it meant that I was in the art community, especially because I was very, very like creative as a kid. I'm still cringe and still in the art community today. So, I want to talk about that. So, I want to talk about my experiences and my friends' experiences in the art community. Yeah, so I have to talk about this because it's what introduced me to the art community. But I was a Google Plus kid. I was on Google Plus a lot. Um, and I know it sucks. But I remember back then I would post my stupid pony based drawings on the different like community things they had. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because of the dreaded Mary Sue's. Back then, everyone really just hated cool character designs and self inserts. And I can't say that I wasn't one of them, but that was mainly because the amount of harassment young artists would get online for just being creative. Like, the whole thing with Mary Sue's is that people who hated them just wanted boring ass character designs. Like, I don't even know what happened to, like, the original meaning to it. Because, like people literally just like boiled it down to being like, oh my god, you have colorful ass hair and piercings and you're emo, or you're like really happy or whatever, you're a Mary Sue. Like they that's literally how they treated it. It was so weird. Like people would draw the most like regular ass person with the most regular ass story. It's like the Stanley Parable but bad. I remember back then there was like a bunch of videos on how to not make a Mary Sue. Side note, I find it really funny how many artists back then quite literally had to look up how to not make a Mary Sue because any kind of like different thing added to a character would be considered a Mary Sue. Like if your character was like different at all, like in any kind of way, it was like, oh my god, it's a Mary Sue. Like, girl, get over it. There were also videos back then that people would just make of trashing young kids' OCs for them being Mary Sue's, like Solar Sands or whatever the fuck his name was. He was so fucking nasty in the art community though, for no reason though. Like, overall, Mary Sue's held the art community back so much. Well, people who hated Mary Sue's, not Mary Sue's as a whole. Like, I remember one time I was told to literally die because I made a colorful character. Like, I didn't even have a story or anything for them, it was just a colorful character. Like, it just had neon pink hair, and they're like, oh my god. A neon pink pony. How dare you? Like, Pinkie Pie exists. It wasn't even like a Pinkie Pie recolor either, it was literally just like a regular ass pony with like pink hair. Like, what the fuck? I am now presenting you with the animation maps. Animation maps are projects that an artist will set up and get others to join so they could animate either a cohesive story or their own individual one. It was made into one video that usually had a emo song or some pop song from the early 2010s. I spent a lot of time watching those as a kid. My brother actually was the one who introduced me to them, and he was so fucking weird for this, but like he literally introduced me to animation maps by showing me vent maps, and I was like, okay, you go off, you go off, emo. I'm not. I kept saying that as if I'm not currently like an emo ass person. Like I'm fucking like God. Anyways, here's some of my favorites from when I was a kid. Um, I'm not sure how I'm gonna go about this. Like if I'm going to be editing in or doing like little like excerpts. I'm leaving this in, by the way. I can't pronounce the word, but I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Little excerpts, or whatever. I forgot what I was saying. I'm still leaving this in, though. Next up are animation memes. Animation memes were a short video made to usually a portion of a song that people would upload their own versions to. This was something that blew up quite a bit on YouTube, at least in the art community. I remember seeing all of my friends who were into art either wanting to do it or doing it. I honestly think they were a great way to get artists out there and to get them into animating. Anyways, here are some of my favorite animation memes. Okay, so we have to talk about Amino. So I remember back, not in early art YouTube, but it was like maybe 2016. I'm not entirely sure. It was like around that time where Amino kept sponsoring art channels and would promote it as like this great place for artists to go. And I ended up joining in maybe, I think it was like 2018. I was pretty active on Amino. I had about 3,000 followers on the Art and OC's Amino. Flexing. That was really cringe, but I am cringe, so might as well. I'm gonna be honest, I'm so conflicted about Amino since it was such a weird app. It actively put children at risk of being groomed and even put children in charge of running their own communities. But Amino introduced me to a community that I now am in, with like very positive energy and very positive people and none of that stupid gatekeeping shit that they had in other like art communities. Amino was also the first place I got a big following on for my art. The only reason why I'm so conflicted is because I was on Amino for over 3 years. Most of my online friends came from there. I met my best friend on there too. Hi Cherry / Kratos, since bro goes by both. Wanted to shout that out because yeah! The next part is sort of just an overall like experience from artists that I know in the community. I will be reading what they said, and I hopefully am gonna be putting up pictures of like the text that they sent me over it. This was sent from Ethan /clown /Mr. Worldwide. The art community. Sure. I mean, I haven't been on it lots lately, but my past experiences haven't been too bad. Though as a small artist, it's very hard to get recognized, and oftentimes the only way to get a little popular is by doing fan art, which I got bored of as time passed. The one negative thing I've experienced was being made fun of because of how I chose to draw certain things when I was younger by another artist. Kinda wish people were less mean to younger artists, but that's mostly all. A lot of folks that I met on the community have been very, very sweet. I kind of butchered that, sorry. Like the last little part, but it's similar enough. The next is from Pumpkin Patch on Instagram. Some of my first experiences in the art community was through My Little Pony fan content. I would watch hours of My Little Pony related videos, from fan animations to speed paints. My early experiences of the art community was full of inspiration, joy, and amazement. However, a lot of my early experiences also included accidental seeing of uncensored gore, adult content, and pro shipping being normalized. When I was first joining the art community myself, I noticed a lot of drama around me at every turn. I started sharing art online during this era of popular DeviantArt cringe videos accusations of silly things like posts, theft, and overall very toxic attitudes rampant in the community, especially in the animation meme community. There were controversies left and right. Later on, when I learned to associate with the right people, I found the art community to be a very positive experience with lots of positive encouragement and inspiring sharings of ideas. Overall, the art community can have a very dark side to it, with a lot of hate and toxic mentalities, but in the right places I found it can be a great place. I want to do a quick side note that I relate a lot to what they said for that one. That is basically almost exactly the experience I had with the art community growing up. Lastly, comes from Cherry/Kratos. Firstly, being a child in the art community sucks major ass. Even though this goes for a lot of communities, it's especially a problem with the art community. When it comes to grooming and abuse of minors, when I was a kid in the art community, I was groomed multiple times. And with so many fandoms being in the art community, you could be exposed to a lot of NSFW stuff in the art community. You would get asked to draw certain stuff or encouraged to draw certain stuff that you didn't know the implications of, and people would encourage it. Or people would show you art and their drawings that were NSFW. And you either didn't know that or they made you feel normalized to it. But there was also a gaining experience and learning new ways to draw different art styles and getting a head start in the art career from making friends and stuff like that. But also it helped me make friends when I didn't really have any IRL, because I met more people who were like me. But the art community can be very demanding. There's trends that come and go, and it can be very difficult as fuck to make a name for yourself when there's so many popular people already. I'm going to talk about my experiences with the art community now. I remember back when I first got into art, I was mainly drawing Minecraft stuff until I found Undertale, which I mentioned in my last essay video type thing. I basically ended up going down a rabbit hole of speed paints and kind of stealing art. I didn't know any better at the time with bases. I would make OC art with bases and stuff like that. I found a lot of really disturbing shit online, especially Smile HD and a bunch of My Little Pony content, but that mainly has to do with the My Little Pony fandom as a whole, which is weird because now I look back on it with this nostalgia, but it was really fucking weird to expose a literal child to something like that, something that's that explicit. I remember Cupcakes, the fan fiction and the animation that was around. My brother literally showed me it. My brother was a brony, but he wasn't a grown adult either. He just really liked horror and scaring me, so the animation meme community was also really toxic, but I feel it also helped a lot with young artists developing their skills. It was very I don't know how to really put it, because I feel every single second or every single day there was a new drama that I didn't keep up with, but my brother did, because my brother was really into that community. I was hardly into it. I would just watch the memes for literally just the music. I was obsessed with watching the pretty animations and listening to the music. I also just I feel because the whole Mary Sue debacle thing or whatever, I don't even know if I used that word right, but the whole Mary Sue thing kind of fucked with me as a kid, because I really my art and OCs in general are just severely inspired by alternative type people. most of my OCs are alternative in some way or fashion. I'm pretty sure all of them are, actually, from what I can remember. My brain's kind of like pea-sized. But I really liked alternative stuff, and having like this huge fear that I was going to be harassed by every single like person on the internet for just making a character that was colorful, like, really scared the shit out of me, especially because it would happen to just like a bunch of innocent kids all the time in the community. Like, I remember that very vividly, because I used to watch like the DeviantArt cringe stuff, not because I like genuinely like enjoyed the content, but it was mainly just because I was scared I was in it. And every time I wasn't in it, I would be like, oh, thank God, but then I'd feel bad for watching the video. But I also, like, at the time, kind of, like, felt the need to agree with it because I was a child. I was a child. I mean, I wasn't necessarily that young, but I was still, like, young enough. Because, like, it was, what, like, 2016, I think, when DeviantArt cringe was, like, a huge thing. I was at least 11 or 12, which is still young, but, like, you know. But, yeah. The FNAF community also, like, was a huge inspiration for me when it came to, like, the art community. Like, the FNAF community had a fuck ton of, like, animation shit on YouTube when I was growing up. Like, I remember watching, Sugar's, animation to FNAF, and, fuck, I forget the name of the channel, but they had, like, a video of, like, the murdered children, to, the song Kids, I think it was, but, if my brain would work, that would be really, really nice, you know? It'd be really fun if my brain would work for once. Anyways, also, Hamilton animatics. Once again, I was very, very cringe as a kid, still am, and I think cringe is such a great way to be. It is better to be cringe than to be a hater. I can't believe I just said that, but, I was really cringe, and I would watch a bunch of, like, Hamilton animatics and animations. Sure, I found, Saddest, or whatever, like, the one who makes those, like, Stanley Parable AU animations now, they made, Hamilton animations before, and that was literally how I found them. I think I found them back when they had, like, 300, 400 maybe subscribers. I was, like, really, really obsessed with Hamilton. Because, like, I would find, like, the most, like, obscure ass things.
How to unpick up a duck.
Even though Saddest,
Step 1. Pick up a duck.
Hamilton animations
Have you
blew
picked
up
up
at the
a
time
duck?
too, I think. Well, kind of blew up.
Step 2.
Not
Slowly
to the extent
lower the
that they're,
duck
like,
until its
popular
cheese
now,
feet have touched the ground.
but, like, it was still,
Step
like, a
3.
lot of views at the
Release
time.
the duck. Congratulations. You are no longer holding
yeah.
a duck.
My brain no worky. That's gonna be it for, this rant. I think I should just have, like, an end of video rant every time I do one of these, because it always ends up happening. I always go off on tangents that, like, have nothing to do with whatever is going on, but also still kinda has to do with what's, like, the topic is. Yeah, so into the last segment. I feel like the art community has come a long way from what it was before, but it still has its faults, and I'm of course talking about TikTok. The TikTok community when it comes to art is highly rude to new artists. I say even more than back then when people were freaking out over Mary Sue's, but, it's kind of the same. I don't really know how to weigh it. It's like almost every week there's some new artist that they end up making fun of. And by the way, I'm not saying that the entire art community on TikTok is like it or is that bad, but it is a huge problem there. But then again, bullying and such is like a huge thing on TikTok for some reason. Though I'd say, besides that, at least in my experience currently, is the art community is really fucking, like, great. Like, the community I found myself in is fucking awesome. Like, the people in it are so nice and talented. I made quite a few friends on there, too. I'm glad that I got a chance to be a part of such a great community.